to call your mom. Hi, Mom. Moms.
Hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
Summer
So
sun.
I brought your summer moms on. That's what you call the softball ladies because they have basically raised you out of the Women's College World Series. So we're doing a special softball edition of Call Your Moms.
Yep, we are.
Beth Mowins, Michele Smith, Jessica Mendoza.
Yep.
Holly Rowe, your mom.
Real mom. The OG.
I have the stretch marks, but the others have all participated in the raising of this child.
It's like a summer camp, but for raising a child. It's like, oh, we go, we get a little practice in, we hit some balls, and then we go. Yeah, it's perfect.
Exactly.
All right, so you guys got the World College World Series, Women's College World Series championship tonight. What are we feeling? What are some stories that we're excited about? What players are we excited about? We're not excited about.
Yeah, Beth, lead
Well,
us off.
I think this is really cool. We're going to crown a first-time champion, which is something that we haven't done in a while. Shout out to Oklahoma for their amazing reign at the top the last 4 years. It was an incredible experience to watch. But now I think we're all excited to see whether Texas, who has the experience and has been here before and they've been knocking on the door a long time, is this the year they win it? Or Texas Tech, never been this far before. How will they handle it with the ace Nigeri Kennedy in the circle? I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see which way this thing goes.
I like it.
So, of course, I'm excited about the pitching matchup. I'll let Jess be excited about the boppers. But no, seriously, I think it's all about great softball. And I think this series is going to prove how important it is to have an ace pitcher. I mean, look at what Texas Tech has done because they basically have one of the best pitchers in the country. They've formed a team around her, and they've been outstanding in this postseason. I mean, they've never lost. They have never been behind in this postseason, which is pretty phenomenal.
Wow.
Knocking off Oklahoma last night. Not many teams have been able to do that over the last 4 years. So kudos to them. Texas, as Beth mentioned on the other half, Tegan Cavan, very, very talented. She's been strong in the circle at this Women's College World Series as well as last year. So I'm excited to see, how she comes out. But I'm really excited to see great rise balls, screw balls, change ups, and the hitters be baffled a little bit.
Oh,
yeah. So how do you attack all of these? I mean, let's be real. Like Nigeri Kennedy is in a whole nother world of her own, and I'm not trying to knock Tegan Cavan, who has done a phenomenal job here at the Women's College World Series, but we have never seen the kind of numbers that Niger's put up, and honestly, the fact that she's been paid $1 million to transfer to Texas Tech. I mean, this is unprecedented. Not just money, but we're talking fandom and status and just what she brings to women's sports, to sports period. It's so exciting. And that's the buzz. That's what everyone is talking about, is the fact that we have this other level, otherworldly type player, a superstar Nigeri Kennedy, that'll be on this stage. So then the hitter in me is like, all right, so how do you hit this girl, right? And this is where, for both teams, speed and chaos. I know we love the long ball and the walk-offs and the big home runs. I'm not saying that that's not going to happen, but the approach for these offenses is to be able to use their speed. And the two fastest teams, I feel like in the country, but definitely here now in the championship, are these two with the chaos. Not sure if you saw it, but Texas Tech went ahead. Michele Davis and stole home, okay? Like a la Jackie Robinson against Yogi Berra. So, like, this is the kind of chaos that these two teams bring.
Yeah, it's so crazy to me, too, because I was just, well, you were saying that, Jess. So for any listeners who are not up on softball, Nigeri Kennedy was a pitcher at Stanford. She got her team to the World Series, both of the first 2 years she pitched at Stanford. And then NIL, she goes into the transfer portal, and she is the hottest commodity, not just in softball, not just in women's college sports, in all of sports. Like, I was trying to remember, do you know any women who have had $1 million outside of tennis, an individual sport, and golf? Any women who've been paid $1 million professionally? Not in the WNBA, like maybe with their collective contracts and salary. I think maybe Diana Taurasi got $1 million 1 or 2 years from Russia. Yeah. But so that's just how groundbreaking and how unprecedented this is. But the story that I love is that they didn't just pay her and she get them here. She had to get teammates around her, and they all signed and believed in Texas Tech and transferred into Texas Tech before they got Nigeria. So I think that's a really important storyline of these young women who believed in Jerry Glasgow and what he could do at Texas Tech. They all signed. He had 5 transfers from Louisiana. He had a transfer from Washington. They were all there on their recruiting visit together. So I think that's a really big piece of this story and this game. But how great for women that a college athlete is getting paid $1 million. Like we've never seen it in our collective lifetimes.
Yep.
Yeah, now that, the transfer portal's going and like there's all this money being infused, what are some things that you guys are looking forward to seeing or worried about changing, and like what's the path forward that you guys kind of envision now that everything's getting so crazy and there's so much money being put into these women?
I'm excited to see what happens after this Women's College World Series and whether this tide rises all boats like we've seen in some other sports. And, obviously she is an amazing talent, and there may only be a few people that would command this kind of interest and this kind of money. But certainly there's a possibility now for alumni at other schools all around the country to step up and say, hey, you know what? We have the ability to try and do something similar. And I think it's going to end up being great for softball. I think that that's something that will be beneficial to more and more student athletes moving forward. And Nigeria is going to be the one that we always look back on and say, hey, this is where it started. We did ask her point blank today, are you coming back to Texas Tech next year? And she said, yes, she was. So we're not sure if that's for the same amount of money or more. We'll have to wait and find out.
Market value may have gone up a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, she might need a raise.
Yeah, she's earned it, right?
Yeah, she's earned it.
Yeah, absolutely earned it. The other thing I think is pretty cool for Texas Tech, though, is that they had some good financial support, obviously, before Coach Jerry Glasgow got there, and obviously Nyjah, because they built a stadium. They've been having donors, and they'd have alumni invest in the program. They just needed a little help getting, the right players to come in, the right coach to come in to really lead the program. They've done that. It just shows that facilities, athletes, all that stuff matters. We saw it matter with the SEC right after the 96 Olympics. The SEC came out and they spent millions of dollars building really nice facilities. And then, oh, by the way, then the SEC network and the ACC's done the same thing. And I think we're just seeing that investment in women's sports absolutely pays off. So I think that's the big picture. The macro that I'm kind of really looking for tonight's game, as Jess, you kind of mentioned it, I think the speed game, the chaos, Texas Tech, their whole left side of their infield are freshmen. So Tony at shortstop, Linda Booth at third base. I think that seeing how they react in this really, really big environment, Texas has the experience of having been here. So it'll be interesting to see how much experience really does pay. But sometimes, ignorance is bliss, and the fact that Texas Tech is just here and they're on a roll and they've been on a roll. And sometimes momentum is a wonderful thing when you have it, and it's awful to try and break when you don't have it.
Well, and Smitty, we talk about this all the time. Like, this is where I think sitting a speed is like so big, because if you can get to a Nyjah Kennedy like rise ball at like 73 miles an hour, which by the way is equivalent to like 102, 103 miles an hour in MLB, if you can get to that pitch, sit it just right, and be able to get your barrel, it's got nowhere to go but out. We saw that with UCLA. They had a home run off of her. We saw that again with Oklahoma. Of course, they pulled a changeup, but it just shows that if you could pick a speed and sit that speed, I'm all about like either hunting changeup or hunting fastball. And to me, like for Nyjah and Tegan Cavan, I'm curious how the hitters are gonna adapt. Like, you're gonna see a whole lot of swing and miss and a whole lot of strikeout, but how will the hitters adapt as they get through the game?
Is this going to be Cheryl Swoopsian, Michele? Because Cheryl Swoops back in 1992 did not start out at Texas Tech. Transferred back home, won a natty for the Red Raiders. This has a very Swoopsian feel to it. And oh, by the way, she scored 42 points in the national championship. So is Kennedy set to have that kind of championship series?
Is it about to be a Swoopsian series? I like this new word.
Series? I don't know.
Entered in the lexicon.
Up all of our new words.
Yeah.
Doctor of Letters.
Okay, can I tell one other cool story that I'm looking for that I think it's too long for us to tell this properly in a broadcast, but I want all of us to get in on this because I just think it's really special. So Years ago, we were covering a young athlete at the University of Georgia, Jerry Ann Glasgow, terrific pitcher, great hitter, and her dad was an assistant coach at Georgia. And they went on a great run, and then she transferred to Oregon, where she ended up playing for Mike White, and they got to the Women's College World Series in 2015. She was on that team, played on the field here in Oklahoma City. So Jerry Ann Glasgow, yes, she is named after Jerry Glasgow, who has now gone on to become the head coach at Texas Tech. Well, tragically, Jerry Ann was coaching, and as she was returning home from a recruiting trip or a camp, she was killed in a car accident a few years ago, 2019. And this really shook the softball world. I remember all of us on a text chain just, crying and being upset. And this was a gut-wrenching thing for the softball community because she was just so young and so full of promise and so well-loved. So, Jessica, you asked Coach Glasso and his daughter, Tara, who is the pitching coach for Texas Tech today, where they feel the presence of Jerry Ann, and what did he say? I thought it was just really special.
I mean, the emotion came, the tears, you could see it in his eyes. And what I loved is he talked about, her being 11 years old and getting that first big hit. Just basically the memories from young Jerry Ann first being introduced to the sport throughout her entire career, just the dad and him. We talked to him so much as a coach. He coaches with his daughter, Tara Archibald, who's the pitching coach, for Texas Tech. And there's a beauty in the fact that her number was 12, and Tara turned to her dad, Jerry, right before and said, if we get the 12 seed, which by the way is such a random thing to think, because you don't know really where the seeding is going to be. It's not like, oh yeah, I think Texas Tech will be 12. But she turned right before the seeding and said, if we end up 12, we're going all the way to the World Series. And sure enough, Texas Tech pops up as 12, Jerry Ann's number, and it's so much emotion, so much story. But I think everyone that was a part of softball in any capacity, any sport, and their dad coached them, that's where you feel Jerry Ann's presence, is the fact that he is a softball dad that has now come to this stage, and she is here with them in every capacity.
And, when you said, where do you feel Jerry Ann? And they both said everywhere. And he said, they got to regionals, and that he got to his hotel room and he was in room 112. And then to win the game to go to the Women's College World Series, they have to go against Sam Landry, who had pitched for him at Louisiana and has his daughter's name, Jerry Ann Glasgow, on her mitt. And that's who they beat to get to the Champ Series. And now they're going to face Texas, whose coach is Mike White, who coached his daughter, Jerry Ann, when she was at Oregon in the last World Series that she played in. So, you just can't make this up.
So Mike has a daughter that played. So he's also a softball dad.
Softball dad. So anyway, that's one really special story. What else are you like? This is too long to get into the game, but it's good for the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I remember a young Michele Rowe that used to be our stage manager.
It was a different time.
Just like any good summer softball mom, we have to tell embarrassing stories.
Yeah.
No, but he would be up in the booth with us. And it became a tradition. I don't know how long we were there, Mac, like 3 or 4 years maybe. And we had a speaker. We would have a speaker up in the booth, and Mac was always in charge of the playlist. And Mac was the unofficial hype man of the World Series.
Well, I think I was a proxy for because you had all the great playlists. I was like, she likes 90s rap. We're doing 90s rap.
Mm-hmm. He'd try and stump us every once in a while with it. We'd play Can You Name That Tune before the national championship. It was awesome.
I don't think I ever did stump you, Beth. I think you always got me on that one for sure. I had a question, because you guys have been in these situations before, and like when you're, especially, I was thinking about this, like pitching. So Michele, this might be a little more, but what is that kind of pressure like when you could maybe win a championship, everything's riding on you having a good day? Like, what does your day look like? Because in any other sport, even a quarterback has a little bit of help. But if you start to have a bad day, you could lose the game immediately and you can never recover. So, like, what the hell do you do?
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. And trust me, as a pitcher, you know that. I always remember when I first started to pitch, my dad said to me, he said, Michele, you've got to be able to be strong mentally, emotionally, obviously physically in the circle. Because he said, Pitcher's the only position in baseball and softball where you also have a win-loss record along with the team. And if you can't take handling the losses along with the wins, then you don't deserve to be pitching. And so there's great responsibility. There's great responsibility in knowing that you have to be committed to every single pitch. And I can tell you, when you're playing night games and you have the whole day to really think about what's coming up in that evening.
The spiral.
Yeah. You learn to control your mentality. You learn to control your breaths throughout the day. You learn to be prepared. What's my routine? What do I need to do in order to be the best version of myself when I go out there in that circle? And trust me, over my career, I took a lot of really deep breaths before championship games, even before I arrived at the stadium. So,
Tegan Cavan, the pitcher at Texas, I'll just tell you this quickly. So she's had a stretch during this season, towards the end of the season, where she was not pitching well. And the wheels were kind of coming off. And she has worked with a mental performance coach and a sports psychologist late in the season to kind of get back to herself. And she talked to us today about breathing. There's all this kind of breathing that you can do and being present in the moment. And her catcher would say, her catcher Reese Atwood told us we work on being present. She'll be like, look up at the sky. The sky is blue. You're here right now. Like, lock in on this moment. Yeah. There are lots of mechanics and tools and mental things that pitchers are using. And Tegan Cavan has been the best version of herself in the last 6 days. And that has been incredible.
I think her team has been also a huge part of that. And that's the beauty, Holly, of not being an individual sport. Because, Mac, I love your question. And the immediate response is like, I don't think I could have handled an individual sport. Like, I mean, the fact that if you don't have your best stuff, flat out you lose. Like, you're done. Like, you don't win. Like, that's just how it is, right? But instead, you get to look to your left, or you get to look to your right. Smitty had teammates behind her that she knew, okay, like, we're going ground ball outs today. Like, let's go. If I'm striking out, like, 0 for 4, whatever, I've got players in front of me, behind me. Like, thank goodness. Or, like, if you feel like you cost your team the game, you look around and you see your sisters. There is a sisterhood that's out there. And that is what's so beautiful about team sports. And I don't think I could have handled individual, because we do fail. It's going to happen. But how you handle it, it's about being there with your girls.
I honestly feel like that with us as broadcasters sometimes.
I was going to ask that same question. I was just going to ask that.
Because let me tell you a story. Beth Mowins has saved my ass more than I can ever remember. But this is one of my favorite memories. You guys are going to know exactly where I'm going with this. So I'm right in the middle of a report. There's a controversial play at third base. And I've been able to overhear what the umpire is saying to the base runner and explaining this controversial play at third. I'm right in the middle of giving my report. And then they said, and a bug flies with great velocity right into it. Like, it hits the back of my throat so hard I choke right mid sentence, and I'm like this, and then I'm trying to get out, and I just start running up the stairs to the bathroom. And Beth sees me out the window. She's like, Holly's in duress, and she just picks me up. And I end up going to the bathroom and like throwing up a fly, this big ass fly. Am I supposed to swear? I can't remember. And anyway, like, we've had a lot of moments where you guys will look at each other in the booth like, oh, shoot, I didn't say that right. Or what was that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we pick each other up a lot.
All the time. Always pointing, like, no, this is who's actually up to bat, Jess. Like, you're saying, but they could easily say, like, on air, like, no, Jess, it's this person. But instead it's like, hey, like, look right here, like all the nonverbal communication.
Nonverbals are big in the booth. We call it full contact sportscasting, because when we make a good play as well in the booth, we celebrate with one another. And and there can be a lot of, there can be body parts flailing and flying when we do that.
Yeah.
One time I did a report on, I remember this vividly, Beth, you'll remember this. I did a report on the late, great Pat Summitt, but Pat Summitt was still alive at this time. And I don't know why I threw the word late in there, because that would imply that she had passed.
Yes.
And I just remember Beth seamlessly picking me up. Right, that's right. And the Pat Summitt, who's still with us.
And it's for people who are listening, I don't know if they know how actually chaotic it is, because you guys are doing live sports is hard enough to cover, but then you guys are up there trying to react and talk thoughtfully about all this stuff that's constantly changing. It's long games. And then you got people in a booth like half a mile away yelling at you in your ear. And then randomly a fly ball will pop up and you're trying to catch that. It's just, there's so much chaos and you guys handle it so well. Um, like even I remember, when was that? I think it was the last time I was there. I could look it up, but we were in the booth when Muhammad Ali died.
Mm,
And so we
yeah.
were all together. So Muhammad Ali died. Beth had to talk about it. We're also talking about this huge game that's going on. We just had weather delays. And then you have like 10 people in your ear yelling at you like, we got it. Okay, so I have a package. And Muhammad, it says his name. And like, it's just so much chaos. How do you guys deal with the chaos? I know you guys have like a great team, but how has it gotten easier as it's gone along?
I think it has to start with the preparation. I always say we prepare for a game like a team does. Like we have a scouting report. We, write down all kinds of information that we have in front of us if we need it. But I think it's, well, I know I rely on my experience as as a former athlete, and that has helped me tremendously. And Holly probably has a similar situation. We don't know what it feels like at the level of Michele or Jess, but we do know what it's like to be in a huddle. We do know what it's like to be at bat late in a game, or in the field behind a pitcher late in the game. So I draw on a lot of that experience and that kind of adrenaline rush when I'm up in the booth as well. And it just being prepared for whatever comes your way. And also, my deep dives over the years into my thesaurus, and finding the right words to say, and the right, there are right words for particular moments that I think just fit better. And I always try and be prepared to come with, whatever they can throw at us.
Show us your game board, Beth. I know it's a
Oh,
podcast, but some people will watch this on YouTube. Show us your
well,
game board.
here's my scoreboard. Here's what I have in front of me, like for game one.
Like,
Yeah.
and she's like the queen of color coordination. What do
Yes.
the colors mean? The orange is Texas, the red is Texas Tech. Like,
These
she's
are
so
not, these
good.
are just projected lineups, by the way. I don't officially know who's starting or where they're hitting. Sorry,
Yeah.
Phil.
So I think for me, it's I take it back all the way to the sport level, and you let everybody play their position, and then you help assist them. So I know that Beth is going to bring the history. She's going to call what is going on in the game. Holly's going to bring the stories of what's going on in the field and human interest stuff off the field. And Jess and I bring more of the why. Why is the pitcher throwing this? Why is the hitter, why are they stepping inside, outside? Why is the coach doing what they're doing? And so I love also following up, like, so sharing stories or expanding on Holly's stories or expanding on the history that Beth might bring up from different aspects of the game. So I try to complement my teammates around me. And it's just like if you're on the softball field, you let the shortstop play shortstop. You don't get in her way. You let her expertise come out. You let the catcher catch and frame the pitches. And, as a pitcher, I do my job, and then you step out of the way. And so I think that's fun. And like with Jess and I, even though we're both analysts, we get we have, and we share the ability to view a play similarly, but at times differently. And I love that because I feel like that expands the story to the viewers at home so people understand the sport better.
For sure. That's what's kind of, and honestly, us working with each other for so long and how much that helps. And Mac, like when you asked, because Muhammad Ali dying, like, I feel like when there's so then the unexpected happens. Something like Beth was like, you prepare and you've got your game boards and your color cord, and then all of a sudden something happens. It's like, oh my gosh, like I think the more real that you can be in those moments, like I think it's okay to not be like, fully prepared and fully like, I'm going to say just the right thing. Beth does a great job of this, of just off the top of the cuff, like comes up with things to say. I remember I was on air doing a Dodger game when Vin Scully passed, and I was freaking out with my producer because we were in the third inning, and he's like, you guys, Vin Scully we just got word, and we're going to have to announce this on television for all of the Dodger fans. And I'm like, well, what do we do? Like, what do we say? Like, oh my gosh, like this is massive, And he got back to me. He's like, you grew up watching the Dodgers, just be real. And it was the best advice because I was super emotional, but so were everyone. I was with the Dodger fans collectively, and our remarks, is the more real you can be in a moment like that and not be perfect. I think viewers appreciate that too.
One thing, talking about the unexpected, something that happened to us this week that I think our listeners might be interested in. So we are getting ready for Texas's game 2 days ago, and their great sports information director, Chris Brown, lets us know that Tegan Cavan's grandmother has died, and we're not sure if she's going to play. And her grandmother, 96 years old, but her best fan, like watched every game, would record all her games, and very emotional day. And so we were going through that game knowing what had happened to Tegan that day, but she had asked us not to say anything about it. And so in the post-game interview, right as she came up to me, I said to Tegan, I said, how do you feel if I ask you about what you went through today? And she's like, I'm okay with that. You can talk about it. And so that was a really interesting, I was proud of us as a team because we have this information, but they've asked us to keep it private. The viewers don't know it, but it lends so much to the story of just what an incredible day this young woman had to beat, was it Oklahoma?
Yes. It was
Mhm.
For the
Oklahoma.
first time here at the World Series. The biggest game of your entire life and the most emotional moment, losing your grandmother, and she was at the best version of herself. And so I was really grateful that we could all tag team on that and communicate and have a good feel for that, and that she did want to talk to us about it after the game. It was precious and yet also stressful because we know it, but we don't want to share it inappropriately.
Holly, but that's also your relationship.
It's building trust and relationship
Yeah.
with players and coaches and with fans.
Mhm.
There are certain fans that only want to hear about their team and only want to hear good things about their team, but that's not our job. We're there to document the game and to tell the stories. And there is this give and take relationship that you have to have with players and coaches and sports information folks to have that flow back and forth.
All right, we've been going a long time. I want to get you guys out of here. Mackie, anything else you're dying to know about the Women's College World Series?
Well, no, but I have some chaos theory questions. 'Cause we do chaos theory, so these are just random questions because I wanted us to have a little fun. It's the momcast with all the softball momcast, right? So are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, I'm just gonna pick one of these at random, and they're random and dumb, so don't judge.
Wait, we're very competitive moms. Is this a race, or are you going to ask a particular person?
Yeah.
No, this is for everybody. It's not a race, but the best answer does win.
Okay.
Okay, and we will all judge each other. Okay, this is the worst one. Okay, if you had to watch one TV show for the rest of your life, what would it be?
West Wing.
Arrested
Sex in the
Development.
City.
Arrested Development.
Okay,
Sex
we
and
got
the
West
City.
Wing, Sex and the City,
Sex in the City. That
Arrested
might be
Development.
Survivor.
Okay, Survivor. I look smart.
Actually,
I
you know
really
what?
don't watch
That's
it
a
now,
great
but it's
answer,
different
Smitty,
every episode. So.
because you
Yeah.
could watch like 20 years of episodes. That's actually a pretty good
Yeah,
call.
you could never have to rewatch anything.
Though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good one.
Sex and the
Sex
City's
and the
got
City original or this new stuff as well?
No,
They're both
the
good.
OG.
the OG.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not called Sex in the City anymore.
Just checking.
Yeah.
I actually love that Beth is like, wait, is this a competition? Because we all got together a couple of years ago. I don't remember where it was, but we were having like some kind of competition, and Beth's husband, Alan, is like, does this have to be a competition? Can't we just have fun out here? And we all look at each other like, no. Of course it's a competition. Like, I just love that we are all psychotically competitive women. Like, psychotically.
We are still together, but that was a difficult moment.
You set him straight, right?
They are still married.
That must have been like record screech in the room. Like,
Yeah.
What we do.
Yeah.
All right, last one. We're doing one more.
Okay.
All right, let's see if it's any good. Who had the best answer? We said Schmitty had the best answer.
Yeah. 20
okay.
seasons. She
You
won
win.
the first round.
You won the first round.
Thank you.
All right, if you had to pick a different career, what would you choose?
I would be a detective.
I'd be a lead singer in a rock band.
Okay.
politician.
But I could also play guitar.
Beth can't sing though. Let's establish
That's
that.
why I would need to play a loud guitar.
Okay.
You said what, Jess?
Politician.
Politician. Just
Ooh,
okay.
that'd be good.
Oh, interesting. I can see that.
I know what Michelle's going to say. Should be a doctor.
Cardiothoracic surgeon.
Oh, did you study that? Why you have
I was
the
I was
name?
going in that direction, and I went to Japan for 1 year, and it turned into 16 years. I never got off the softball field. So
She started pitching in Japan. She was going to go to medical school, and then she didn't you do like prerequisites, and then you did like some internships and stuff?
Took my MCAT, worked in surgery. Oh yeah,
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Open heart surgery.
She's also wicked smart.
Yeah.
Typical pitcher. She dominated the game. She just
Yeah.
went 2-0. She went
Yeah.
2-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just put on a clinic.
Oh, nice. I see what you did there.
Good job. Okay, so before we go, last question for me is, ladies, just go around the horn. Thing you're looking for the World Series. What are you the most excited for the World Series? And then we'll let you get out of here.
Most excited for the World Series.
I'm going to jump back in real quick because McKylan very quickly took the steering wheel when we were asking about his experience, my favorite experiences at the World Series. I would have to say younger McKylan, when we would, Holly and I, we would be leaving to go to the field, and we were like, okay, now if you're hungry, order some room service, but don't leave the room. And we're like,
I very inappropriately left him alone in the hotel room, very inappropriately.
And we're like, he's going to order a cheeseburger and watch the game, and he'll be just fine. And what we really found out is he ordered the filet and some extra dessert
And a cheeseburger.
and he still never
4
left the room
movies.
because he's such a good kid.
Hey, I followed the rules. Okay, you just
Yeah.
follow them your way. That's the key to life.
Smart.
I'm going to go with, I love to see players play their best in these big moments. And Cavan and Kennedy have some history. Tegan Cavan, here's your stat of the day, 3-0 against Kennedy head-to-head, including twice last year at the World Series. So can she do more damage, or is this Kennedy's time for vengeance? We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
How do you score against the best?
Yeah.
Like, this is the best of the best. And of course, it's like thinking it's so creative. Like, you're gonna see some sort of hit and run. Maybe someone bobbles the ball because someone speedy is going by him, or we've seen all the controversial plays, missing home plate, all these things. It's gonna get chaotic, and I just think it's gonna be this wild mixture of things that have to come together. That's what I want to know. How do you beat the best? And we're gonna find out.
Yeah, and to kind of bump off of that, Jess, I always look forward to, it doesn't matter if it's Little League World Series, College World Series, the Olympic Games. The game comes down to execution and those big moments. So pitchers, who's going to be able to execute the pitch, when the bases are loaded, who's going to be able to make the ground ball play, double play, whatever, get the RISP stats. It always comes down to those high pressure moments, who's able to execute in them. And it's different typically every game. And that's what I'm always most excited about, to see who steps up in those moments.
I love it.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting us call. McKylan always calls you guys his summer moms because he has spent a lot of time with you at softball fields through the years and other times. And I don't want to get emotional, but you guys have all, well, maybe I am getting emotional. You have all been really great moms and supporters to McKylan. He has definitely been raised by a tribe of great women. And you have all been wonderful, wonderful moms to my son. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, mom number one. We love you guys.
Love you guys.
Thank you, moms.
Wait, what's the order? What's the order after that? How does that work? I'm just kidding.
Beth, I think we know from the questions. Beth is Michelle's number 2. I'm sorry. You and Jess got to duke it out.
I got to pick it up. Pick it up.
Pick it up. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Love you guys. Thank you.
Love you guys. Thank you.